What about secrets for local development using the Docker Compose command line? We've been talking about Swarm up until now, but I'm back on my machine and I've got Docker Compose installed, which I did not have in my Swarm, right? Because again, Compose is not a production tool, it's designed for development. I'm in the same secret sample directory we had before. You can see that I have the 2 password files and the Docker Compose file that we had in the Swarm. Just to prove that I'm not in a Swarm, I can do a docker node ls, and it will actually tell me this is not a Swarm manager, I'm not in a Swarm, so I don't have access to the Swarm database or the ability to put secrets in it. So how do we deal with this in local development? Well, ideally, we can still use the same compose file, we can still use the same objects like the environment variables for Postgres. So Docker had to come up with a way to make this work in test and dev. If we do a docker compose up -d, and then we did a docker compose exec psql, and then did a cat on run secrets psql user. How did our secret get in there, right? Because we don't have the database. Well, it turns out there's a little bit of magic here. Well, it's not magic. It's just hiding behind the scenes that what's actually happening with Compose is not secure, but it does work. It basically bind mounts at runtime that actual file on my hard drive into the container. So it's really just doing a -v with that particular file in the background. Again, this is totally not secure and it's not supposed to be. It's just a way to get around this problem and allow us to develop with the same process and the same environment variable secret information that we would have in production, only now we can do it locally too, which is great. Because now that means we can develop using the same launch scripts and the same way we get environment variables into our container, just like we would in Swarm. And that's what we really want. We want to match our production environment as much as we possibly can locally. You need the latest version of Docker Compose to do this. I believe it only works in Docker Compose 11. So I hope you think that's pretty cool, because I thought that was a good compromise for them to make in order to let us use the secret commands. Now, I will point out this only works with file-based secrets. It will not work with the external that we talked about. So if we look at the compose file real quick, I would have to use file-based ones for my local development. So maybe if you're using external in your production, you just might have to have a different compose file for development that would have the file attribute here and specify sample dummy files in the same directory or somewhere else you might store them, that are you just using simple password for development. Well, in this section, we've covered a lot about Swarm. So Swarm, stacks, and secrets are kind of like a trilogy of awesome features that can really make things much easier in production for us. But I want to show you what it might be like if you actually took your compose files, organized them in a couple of ways, and this is what I basically call living the dream. It turns out you can actually use a single file to do a lot of things, but sometimes your complexity grows and you're going to need multiple compose files. I want to just run through real quick. You don't actually have to do this yourself if you don't want to. I'm just going to show you an example of how these compose files might work together to build up your environment as you go. In this scenario, we're going to use Docker Compose up for our local development environment. We're going to use a Docker Compose up config and file for our CI environment to do integration testing. And then when we're in production, we're going to use those files for Docker stack deploy to actually deploy the production environment with a stack. So I'm on my local machine, and we're going to be using the example before of the Drupal scenario with a database server and a web front end. We have the Docker file that we have used in our previous assignments where we're building a custom yet simple Drupal config with a template. And then we're going to have this default compose file. Now this is called an override, what we're about to do. An override is where I have the standard Docker Compose file, and it sets the defaults that are the same across all my environments. Then I have this override file that by default, Docker Compose, if it's named this exact name, dockercompose.override.yaml, it will automatically bring this in whenever I do a Docker Compose up. You'll see that in this scenario, we're assuming local development because we really want the hand-typed commands we're going to type to be easiest locally. Normally in your CI environment, it's all automated, so we don't really care if those commands are a little bit longer. What we really want locally is the easy Docker Compose up. So the cool thing is Docker Compose will read this file automatically, and it will apply this over top or override any settings in the Docker Compose YAML file. And so here, notice I don't have the image name because that's already specified over here. In this override file, I override by saying I want to build the image locally using the Docker file in this current directory. I want to create a port on 8080 for local development. And I'm setting up some volumes. And you'll even notice I gave you an example here of a bind mount where I might be doing a custom theme and I want to mount my theme on my host into the container like we did in previous sections so that I can change it locally and then see it right away on the server. And by the way, for this example, I don't actually know how to develop themes in Drupal. I'm not exactly sure that if I change a file in there, it'll automatically be reflected. I just wanted to show an example of how when you're doing development in web, typically this is the way you would do it without having to stop and start the compose every time. Down here under Postgres, we have the environment variable and the secret settings like before. We have the defined volumes, and you'll see down at the bottom, I actually have the file-based secret because when we're doing local development, we have to use the file-based secret. But things get a little interesting when I look at this prod or test files. And the way this is going to work is, remember that the .override.yaml automatically gets picked up by the Docker Compose command line. In prod or test, I'm going to have to specify them manually. And so for test, we're going to have to use the -f command. If you remember from earlier sections, the -f is when we do a Docker Compose that we want to specify a custom file. And I'll show you that in a minute. And then in production, since we're not going to actually have the Docker Compose command line on a production server, what we're going to do here is we're actually going to use a Docker Compose config command. And the config command is actually going to do an output by squishing together or combining the output of multiple config files. So that'll be really cool. Real quick, the test file just has the Drupal and the Postgres. And you imagine if this was your Jenkins CI or your CodeShip CI solution, where I want it to build the image every time I commit my code, and I want to call it this, and I want it to be on this port for testing purposes, and then I'm going to use a fake password. But I don't need to define any of the volumes because I'm not going to actually try to keep named volume data because, again, it's just a CI platform. So as soon as it passes tests or fails tests, it'll get rid of everything. And then in this scenario, you might see that I've actually got this sample data scenario where maybe in your CI solution, you have simply databases sitting there that come from either a custom Git repository or maybe they're an FTP download or something happens during the initialization of your CI where it actually downloads a database file. And instead of us having to create our database every single time we do CI testing, we would just mount this directory of sample data into where our Postgres data is supposed to be. And that way we could guarantee we had the same sample data every single time we do a CI test. So I'm not going to go into that any further, but I just wanted to show that that might be how this file for CI would be different. And then in production, we have all of our normal production concerns. We're specifying volumes for our specific data. We're specifying our secret. And you'll notice down at the bottom, we have the external secret because we're going to have put the secret in already via the command line like we did in the earlier assignment. The point here is that all three of these configs are different in some way, but they all relate to the core config or the base config, which just defines the two services and their images. You can see here, here's a reminder of what it looks like. So let's exit this and run a couple of commands. If I look in this directory, you'll see that I have the base file and then the three override files. And again, remember that the override.yaml is the default. So if I do a Docker Compose up, what it will actually do here is use the docker-compose.yaml first, and then it will overlay the override.yaml one on top. And I'm going to put a -d in so we can take a quick look after it's started. I'm going to do a docker inspect on the Drupal image. And what I wanted to show you was in here, it's got all the mounts listed. So we know that it took the override file because the override file was where we defined all of these mounts. So we know that it picked that up. And obviously, if it didn't pick up the base one, it wouldn't even know what images to use. So it would actually be complaining to us and saying that the compose file was incomplete. So that one worked. Let's do it down real quick. Now, if we were going to actually do the command we needed for our CI solution, what we would have to do on our CI solution was to make sure that Docker Compose was there and installed and available so that we could do Docker Compose commands. And then we could specify the -f, and then the order of the Fs is the base file always needs to be first. So Docker Compose YAML, and then Docker Compose test. And if we did this with an up at the end and a -d, and then I went and inspected that same Drupal, you'll notice that there's no bind mounts. They're completely missing because in the test file, we didn't specify those. We didn't actually need Drupal to save information because it was going to be thrown away at the end of our CI run. And then third, we have the production config. Now the production config is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to hit the up arrow, and then here I'm going to do the prod. And instead of an up command, what I want to do here is a config. And if you just look at the help real fast for the config, it has only two options, and neither one of those are really relevant in this situation. What we want to just do is just run config by itself. And what it's going to actually do is look at both files and push them together into a single compose file equivalent. And so what we could do here is just run this command somewhere in our CI solution and then have it output to a file, maybe with, like something like that. That output file would be the one we would use officially in production to create or update our stack. However, I want to throw in a little caveat here. This is all relatively new stuff. We know that secrets and swarm stacks are relatively new. They're only a couple of months old as of this recording, and so there's a couple of rough edges. We just ran that config command, and you'll actually notice that the secrets weren't listed in there. That's a bug currently. I'm actually working with the Docker team to see if we can't squash that bug. So by the time you read this, it may have already been fixed. Make sure you inspect that output of the config line before you go deploying in production. And secondly, the compose extends option, which I did not discuss here, is another way to override these compose files where you actually use the override file and you actually define an extend section in there. It's a little bit more declarative, so it's easier to understand. And I'll provide a link in the references for this section, but just know that that extends option doesn't yet work in Swarm stacks. So I didn't mention it here because it doesn't really give you the full app lifecycle that we were hoping for, but I do expect them at some point to do something about that, like either add it into Swarm or create a better workflow, because that's really the idea we're trying to get to with all of these tools, is to have a complete and easy lifecycle from development all the way through test into production with the same set of configurations and the same set of images. So I hope this got you thinking about how you might make your apps this way and how you might extend your own compose files for complex scenarios, because nothing puts a smile on my face faster with Docker than when I see someone run a one-line command to do something that previously took multiple scripts to execute.